Hello and welcome back. In this supplemental video, I go a little bit deeper into a few of the concepts that I only touched on in the main video, and I get to save a couple of moments from the cutting room floor. I spent a few minutes trying to impress upon you the effect that aspect ratio can have on your digital art projects, specifically in printing. For me, this was one of the deciding factors to what posters I'd even create. Originally, I imagined that I'd share my finished digital art files, but I soon realized that it wouldn't do much good. They wouldn't be of much use to anyone who wanted to print their poster at a different ratio than what I created it in. To make art like this work for your needs, it really should be designed from scratch for the correct target size and ratio. By showing the steps in a tutorial form, anyone can be inspired to make exactly what they need for themselves. In places that adhere to the ISO 216 paper standard, this wouldn't be an issue. Within this standard, all sizes share the same aspect ratio, so you can design a piece of art once and it scales to fit every size up the line. The A-series paper standard is a wonderfully clever thing. Why do I have to live in a place where nothing makes sense? I cut a 1-minute segment from the main video where I defined aspect ratios in more detail than necessary. Since I've already put in all the work of editing it, I thought I'd share it with you here. I'd be curious to know if this clip actually helps anyone improve their understanding. Try to break it down as simply as I can. In this context, aspect ratio just describes how the width and the length of a rectangle relate to each other. This is written as a numbered ratio. Most commonly, this is described as the lowest number of imaginary equally sized measuring units, imagine squares, that it would take to exactly fit both the width and the length. A perfect square has an aspect ratio of 1:1, as it fits one square perfectly. And aspect ratios never have anything to do with overall size. For instance, a square of any size still has a 1:1 ratio. If I elongate this square and make it half again bigger on one axis, I've changed the ratio. This ratio could be expressed as 1.5:1, or 1.5 measurements to 1 measurement, but it's less common to describe aspect ratios as decimals. Instead, we had tried to find the fewest number of squares that tile evenly in the shape, in this case giving us a ratio of 3:2. Mathematically, those are the same ratio. Nothing has changed, but for our purposes it's more common to express these in whole numbers. A little more arranging and we can get it to 4:3, or 5:4, or 7:5. There is a reason this is important. All standard printing sizes can be described by their aspect ratios. When I scaled the first screenshot, I mentioned pixel interpolation without really explaining what it is. When a digital image is altered in rotation or size, the program has to decide the best way to fill in the extra information. This is done through interpolation. As a rudimentary example, imagine a 2x2 checkerboard, 4 pixels in total. For the sake of this example, let's say I wanted to increase its size. I could easily increase it to 200% in size, or 4x4, one full integer scale. This simply doubles the density and the image remains unaltered. But what if I needed it to fit 5x5 instead? Without interpolation, whatever color I fill the center portions with is inaccurate compared to the perfectly balanced original. But depending on the interpolation algorithm, the software may choose to fill this missing information with an average color of the surrounding boundaries, in this instance gray. In a sense, this is more accurate to the original, but at the expense of some image clarity. This is a very, very simple example, but these decisions are replicated thousands and thousands of times as you change the size of an art asset. Interpolation is often a better choice for scaling most image types, as the added softness may be more natural than noticeable hard pixel edges. But in our case, we want to see those edges, so turning off interpolation is a better option for pixel art projects like this. And if some of these terms sound familiar, this is the exact same issue faced when trying to upscale standard definition content to our HD TVs. Your TV's built-in upscaler will use interpolation, which is generally the better choice for most video content, just not for pixel-based video games. This is one reason for the existence of the FrameMeister, the OSSC, the RetroTink, and other line doublers and scalers. So going back to the poster, I undid the resize and turned off interpolation in the tool options. This gave us a better result with none of the softness of before. But because this wasn't increased to an exact integer scale, there are technically some pixel level inaccuracies. I can compare pixels across the image, and I could find that some are no longer perfectly square or exactly the same size, but I've increased the pixel density by such a rate, over 20 times the original, that these flaws are not noticeable to the naked eye, and I can only find them by pixel peeping with editing tools. As such, it's not important to me, but in case it's important to you, there is one more approach. During the course of your projects, you may come across a situation where scaling without interpolation gives a weird result. This is more likely to happen at lower resolutions or with pixel graphics that have precise repeated patterns. In those situations, I recommend trying a hybrid approach. First, with interpolation off, increase the size of your asset using only whole integers or percentages evenly divisible by 100. Get as close as you can to your target size, in this example 500%. Next, turn interpolation back on, choose whatever algorithm you prefer, I use cubic most of the time, and you can scale to your exact size with the interpolation only affecting it for the last portion of its scale. It'll still soften the image, but only a little, and life's all about trade-offs. If you seek this video out and made it this far, I'm not sure what else to say but thank you. I truly hope you found this tangential content worthy of your time and attention. If I've ever helped or entertained you, you can return the favor merely by letting others know about my channel. I appreciate and value your time. Please be safe and take care.